So let's have a little practice run. We might as well do this in our sketchbook because then we are familiar with the paper and we know all about the timings, which is going to be important in this. So I'm going to start off by just putting some very loose, and I'm using Quin Lilac here. This is my green gold and this is my olive green. And they are the only three colours that we're going to be using. So we're just going to start by laying down a very simple rose shape. I got what you want. So what I'm doing there is I'm actually just going in, and this is quite heavily pigmented paint. I'm just going in to do another few petals. Then we're going to do our magic trick with a little bit of bleach, and I've just got the bleach on the end of a very fine brush here. And I'm just going to drop that in. Now very quickly, let's drop a little bit of green. It actually repels it because it dries out the paper, but if you get in quickly, it does still take. And that's just my olive green, and then a little bit of brush show powder, moss green as well in the centre. Now what I would like to do is create some negative space between our roses, and it also is going to be a helpful technique with the leaves. So we're just going to draw some clear water around some of the petals. And then you can, on this side, do a similar shape, but just with water. And then while that's still wet, drop in some Brusho or whichever green you're using. And once you've done a few more petals around this, a few more roses, these little white pops kind of really add to the piece. It allows the eye to rest a little bit. So let's put down our first layer of green. And I've chosen green gold, but I'm mixing it a little bit just to make it a little darker with my darker green, which I've chosen as olive green. So we really want to just throw these down. We're just wanting an impression here, nothing too particular. So whilst those are drying a little bit, we can go back to our centres, and if we're not happy with the spread of the brush in the centre, we can go back up just to waken it up a little bit and bring it down to the rest of the petal. And that's just with clear water. And also, whilst I'm here, this is dry, almost dry. Let's just do a little bit of a dry brush technique. So you're just dragging a fairly dry brush. So what I've done now is I've put paint on my brush, I've dabbed the excess off, start here and then just bring it over, and it just adds a little bit of texture. It's dry brushing. And you can just wake this bit up so it looks like it's joined to it. Another thing you can do then is you can just scrape the centre a little bit. This is the stylus. still want this to gravitate out a bit more. Yeah, that's better. So I'm just going to do the same here. And you can just fiddle about until you're happy. And there's lots of room to go back in if you're not, so try not to worry too much about that. So let's do some darker leaves now. So I'm using olive green. And we can start to lay those over our paler green underneath. It's very effective and dreamy. This is not as loose as it will be when we do our piece over both the pages, because I'm having to think and explain, so it'll be a lot quicker and looser when we do our piece together. So what we can do then is scrape shapes into the leaves, veins. Just do one side, or this is already dried. And this is one of my favourite little idiosyncrasies, where you have a very pale colour flowing into a darker colour. I adore that when that happens. I can't always seem to make it happen, but I can enjoy it when it does. Okay, so we've done the leaves, we've got our rose here. Just keep going back if there's anything you're not happy with. This feels like it's not really connected to the centre, so I'm just using water to bring it back up. Oh, and I quite like the way that that's going into this deeper colour here, making a shape. So then we can also grate some pastels over our piece, and I'm just using the stylus. You can use sandpaper or a mini grater, nutmeg grater or something like that. Pink in the centre here. It just gives you an impression of stamens and maybe a bit of pollen flying about. So that's our basic design, and we're now going to just do this over 2 pages, and working quickly but also knowing that we can come back and you can change something. So if you're not happy, you know, that all the petals look the same, you can go in and drag some more paint over that. You can add more leaves. So let's move on now and do our little 2-page spread.